This is Awakened Path Radio, giving you the tools to guide you on your spiritual or metaphysical journey. I'm your host, Dr. Candace Nadine Green.
Welcome to Inspirational Monday here on Awakened Path Radio. As always, you can keep up to date on everything Awakened Path by visiting our website at www.awakenedpathonline.com. Again, that's www.awakenedpathonline.com. Now, on to today's show. Today, we have with us again AVILONE Bailey, who is the founder of the Emotional Relief Catalyst Energy Healing modality. With her no-touch technique, benefits are immediate and continue with time. Clients have been relieved of childhood traumas, hurtful relationships, abusive experiences, and toxic emotions. Her clients have experienced freedom from headaches, chronic back pain, unhealthy behaviors, toxic relationships, thought patterns, beliefs, and more. It is said that 90% of suffering is from stored emotions. Welcome back to Awakened Path Radio, AVILONE.
I'm so happy to be back. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you. And I don't think many of our listeners know that you were once a nurse. So could you tell us how your nursing career sort of led to and contributed to the healing that you do today for others?
I'd be happy to. I knew from a very young age that I would be a nurse. There's nothing else I ever considered, and it was such a yearning. And so following the traditional path of healing was rewarding. And you got to help people mostly on a physical level. So as I went through the 25 years of nursing, which I loved, I embodied being a nurse, I began to realize that there was more than just the physical. And that really struck home one day. I was working in a hospital on a respiratory unit floor, and so the patients there would be elderly, most of the time very thin because of their illness. They would have asthma, COPD, bronchitis. And I was in a room with an elderly lady who, in those days as well, when people were admitted, they'd be there for weeks. So I was in a room doing some tasks with an elderly woman, and when I was finished, I thought, let me just take a moment and hold her hand. And so I did, and we talked a little bit. They have difficulty talking, so conversation's really not a major focal point. And I just held her hand for a few moments. And when I put her hand down and said I needed to go to the next patient, she really just pleaded with me to stay with her and to not let go of her hand. And it was heartbreaking for me to have to leave her bedside. And I realized that I had taken care of her physical needs, but not her emotional needs. And so now that's what I do as an emotional relief catalyst, to see someone free of the effects of pain or suffering just by being present for them and helping them to release the emotional baggage, the emotional traumas, the emotional hurts, is equally as rewarding as nursing was for me. So really, to segue from nursing to energy healing was natural and almost seamless.
And that's interesting. We think sometimes that when people are in a hospital and we're really helping them heal, we think that we're helping them because the physical body may be tended to, but we often forget about the emotional. In fact, we do forget about the emotional needs of people in the hospital. Years ago, my mother used to work in a nursing home, and as a kid, I would visit there, and I thought it was a scary place because it seemed like even though people were being helped, that they were always in a state of despair. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized there's some emotional issues going on there that need to be addressed. I mean, just sitting there and talking to them is just enough sometimes.
Yes, it's funny you mention that because I spent many years in my career in the long-term setting. I have a lot of exposure to the older population. What you're saying is unfortunately true, but I will say that in the teaching that I would do in that setting, the emotional needs of the people staying there was highly and strongly emphasized. That, and I'll give you examples. This was so near and dear to my heart that I tried to pass this on as a nurse to those who worked with that population. And an example is this. I would tell the nurse aides, for example, when they walk down the hallway and there's a resident, or well, we call them residents, we don't call them patients in long-term care. When you see a resident sitting in a wheelchair in the hall or somewhere, when you walk by them, look at them and say hello. Whether they can respond or not, whether they hear you or not, you want to acknowledge their presence. And then if it is a resident that could actually respond, hear, or see, then pick something out about them that you can say something positive about, and make it sincere, like, wow, your hair looks really nice today, or that color is very good for you, or it's just nice to see you. And so that, that's not going to fulfill them completely, but it is acknowledging them as a human, and it is at least giving them a momentary acknowledgement of their emotional needs. So yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, we are emotional beings, and like what you said, just acknowledging a person, saying hello, your dress looks nice, stuff like that, it does wonders for a person's emotional stability. Actually, I remember when I was in college and I had a customer service job. I worked at a supermarket and at the library. I was always saying hello to people. It was just part of me. Yeah, I see someone in my line at checkout, I talk to them, how you doing, and stuff like that. And people would tell me, they really appreciate it. Just a hello, just a good morning, just a smile. It did stuff to boost their energy. And it's amazing how it works like that.
It does. And you said something else that I really tune into. And I used to be a cashier prior to my nursing, so I understand what it's like to work with the public in that capacity. And, nowadays, and this is not to point out any particular segment of society, but when I go to a store and the cashier or a hotel and the concierge, they're pretty good in hotels, but a cashier, when they don't say hello, they don't have eye contact, they don't acknowledge you, I really feel like, did you not see me? Exactly. And that's, I think, one of the human needs that we have, and that I emphasize to the nursing staff, is acknowledge the presence of a person. And it doesn't have to be this huge thing. It can be like what you were saying, just eye contact and hello.
It does such wonders. It does wonders. Now, what drew you to just the whole idea of helping people? Why did you want to help people before you became a nurse, etc.?
I was just very sensitive as a child. And as I mentioned before, I could see the energy fields. I was using my inner vision, and I just became a quiet observer. And I began to notice, I would watch people interact, and let's say there was a little disagreement. I could see how a person was feeling when they weren't being acknowledged, respected, or listened to. And I began to feel that. And so it just made me very, very sensitive to, we have our physical presentation, we have our facial expression that we try to control most of the time. Some people might call it a mask. I'm not trying to make it artificial, but we have what we present to the world, but there's so much more beyond the surface of that. And that's what I started to see and feel and tune into as a child. And so it's almost an automatic thing for me that when people talk to me, I automatically tune into what's the rest of the story here. And it just helps me to be the best I can with whatever I'm sensing, whether it's social or, in my work, because people have needs that they don't even recognize.
That's so true.
People have needs that they aren't even able to express or articulate. And so if I can tune into that, and in some small way or some larger way, assist with that, I'm joyful and fulfilled in doing so.
And isn't it, I don't know, maybe interesting is probably the wrong word, but going back to the example of being in a supermarket, now that I'm on the other side, because, I'm much older than I was when I was in college, being on the other side of the counter, it's some people will not look at you. Some people, and it's because we've gotten this way in society where we're coexisting together, but separately. We're all in our little bubbles where we don't want to interact. We don't want to say hello. And
that is so true. Yeah.
And it's causing a lot of suffering. And whether or not we realize the suffering that it's causing, I mean, look at the people who suffer from depression and loneliness and, people who commit suicide. And those things really wouldn't happen if we were alone, if we were, not so alone. But our loneliness and our living in this little bubble is actually hurting us and killing us, whether or not we realize that. But
yes, because we can die on the inside. We can be physically alive. We feed our physical body,
right,
and we nourish it. We sleep. But what about the emotional body? What about the other aspects of us? Sometimes that can be starving, and it's kind of like what you're describing. The physical is surviving, but what about the emotional, the psychological? And so with children, especially now, they are so attached to their devices, they're missing the foundation of human interaction. And so what you described that's happening at a later stage in life is actually occurring now at a much younger stage, where kids don't even know how to converse. They don't even know what it's like to truly interact or connect with a person, not a device. And so I don't think this is helpful to them. And as far as people not having eye contact, there are so many possibilities there. It's almost hard to point out a few, but sometimes they may feel like they're not even worthy of having eye contact with someone. They're not going to like me. I don't have, I'm not worthy of even being recognized or saying hello to. It could be that they don't want you to see their suffering.
Right.
So not having eye contact can stem from many different issues or self-image.
Right.
Yeah.
And I see that regularly. When I drop my kids off, when I take them into school, and I'm always saying good morning, hello to everyone. And then there are some people that I could say hello to them every single day, and in fact I do on some occasions. And they won't say anything. They won't even acknowledge me. There's the one parent who I've practically waved my hands and said, hi, how you doing? Good morning. And nothing, not acknowledge me, pretending I don't exist, just walking straight ahead. And I know I said it loud and clear, but, and I have to remember, don't take it personally. It's not me. It's we have to take responsibility on a larger scale of this, because it is something that we in society have created. And when you talked about children, I mean, we're just raising them to do the same thing, to be emotionally isolated, which is very sad, very dangerous. And it shows the fear that we have of sitting with ourselves and getting to know ourselves through interacting with others, which is very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, you touch on so many things here, and they're all so important. I want to go back and talk about a person not responding to you first. I mean, you are correct. That is not a reflection of you. But they, sometimes when a person doesn't say hello back, or they don't make that eye contact at a store or whatever, my initial reaction is, hey, you should be customer service oriented. But then with all the work I've done, I realized, first of all, number one, I haven't walked in their shoes. I have no idea what their life is like. And there's a reason why their behavior is what it is, just like there's a reason for my behavior. And honestly, one day when I was truly honest with myself, this is a while ago, I thought, why do I need someone else to acknowledge me?
Right.
Why do I need for them to be a certain way? What is it within me that is requiring that? And that was a hard mirror to look into. And so I try to shift and put myself in the state of approach that I'm going to go through this person's line in the grocery store, and I'm going to be who I am, regardless of how they are. So if they're a person who doesn't say hello or just seems to be aloof, I will still be the person who says, like you, good morning, how are you? Have a nice day. And not have an attitude about it.
Yeah.
Because I cannot require them to be the way I want them to be.
Right.
So it's sort of a wake-up call. Yes, why am I offended? That was really the question.
Right.
And so, like I said, you don't know their home situation, but I also want to say one more thing about something you said right at the end, and that was to sit with yourself. And this is an oh my gosh thing for me, because what I have found is that people who cannot be without some sort of stimulation, be it TV, radio, music, computer, whatever it is, talk, people who cannot be without stimulation, distraction, diversion, there are times it's because they don't want to hear that which resides within.
Right.
And so these are the people I love to work with, because if you can reach a state of being with yourself and being comfortable, that is such a source of joy and peace and calm, and that is the source of the truth of who you are. And so one of the most beautiful things I love about the work I do is to help people begin the journey within. And it might start with all these, this is, like I may have mentioned before, layers and layers of clothing. And so it may start with having to start peeling off the outer layers of clothing. And this clothing is really the emotional layers, or the energetic layers of all this stuff you've accumulated through your life that don't belong to you. They don't fit you. It's not your style. It belongs to someone else. And so to help someone go from not having inner peace to beginning the path of inner peace, truth, and wisdom, that's magnificent.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to get over that fear. And that's, and we have a lot, even though we don't want to admit it, we are all afraid of being, of other people seeing who and what we are. And also that finding out that we have things that need to be fixed or that we need to work on. Those can help hinder us as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm amazed at what you bring up, because it's so insightful. So fear, that's huge. There was a book, and I recommend it. I don't remember exactly what was in it, but it was, the title was When Fear Falls Away. And this was a long time ago. When I read that title, I couldn't even touch the book because fear was such a part of my life that I didn't even want to say, read, or touch the word fear. And I thought, that's impossible anyway. How can fear fall away? How can you live without fear? It just wasn't a reality for me. And it was years later, as I followed my own path, that I realized fear does fall away.
Yes.
And of course, we all know it's not real and all that. But if it's real to you, it's real to you.
That's right.
And so to start peeling away, it can be the layers of fear, the layers of judgment, the layer of doubt, confusion, whatever they are. As these layers begin to softly and gently and painlessly peel away, we can begin to get to the core of who you are. Now, what I have found is that sometimes there's a fear that, what if I go within and find out I'm not loved or I'm not lovable?
Oh,
that, I think, is our greatest fear, that we really are not lovable and we're not loved. If we go within and find out that our source of all that is doesn't love us, well, that's devastating.
Oh, yeah.
And so we may not have been loved by a parent or parents. We may not have been loved by siblings. We may not have been loved by our significant other.
Mm.
And that makes us wonder, well, am I loved at all? Is there anything or anyone that really does love me? And so to really find out the core of who you are is scary, because what if it's not love? But I'm here to tell you it is love. And I'm here to tell you that to peel off all those layers that don't belong to you, they belong to others, and find that what waits for you within is a source of love that will always nourish you and always love you, regardless of who you are, regardless of the mistakes that you've made. The love is always there. And our job is to do the best we can in this life, with this personality, with this body, with this set of rules that we live within. We're here to do the best that we can. But know that regardless of what we do or what we don't do, the love from that which created us is always there and without judgment.
And once we are aware of that, and we see that love and feel that love, we can then project it onto others around us. And they in turn will also spread that love to someone else. And it could be an infinite love fest. And it can heal so many. But we have to first make that step to go within, so we can realize.
It always starts with the self.
That's right.
It always starts with you.
Right.
You want to know where to start. You don't want to start with trying to fix another person.
Right.
If you're in a loveless relationship, the job is not to fix the other person.
No.
The job is to fix you. Why are you with another person if it's a loveless relationship?
Right. You have to know that you're worthy of being loved.
That's right.
Right. And that's interesting. I mean, love seems to be the recurring theme lately, and it should always be, I believe. My son, he's 7. He's doing a show. His class has a presentation on Friday at school, and they have to choose their job. So he decided he'd choose a song. And, he was going to sing You Are My Sunshine. And at the last minute, 2 minutes before we had to go to school, he says, Mommy, I don't want to sing that song. He wants to sing What the World Needs Now. What the world needs is love, that song. And I was so excited. And I was like, that is such a wonderful selection for the times, because it is so true. It is so true. I mean, we don't need all this other material stuff. We all love is the answer. We have to start by going within to find that we are really of love from the divine source, that there is love and we are worthy of love. And then once we feel it, we can spread it. And that would heal so much and prevent wars, these death, murders, everything.
And the beauty of what you're saying is this, is that when we carry that state of being that is love, then we're in a state of non-judgment. We are automatically in a state of acceptance. We don't have to have an opinion, because opinions don't matter. And I'm not saying don't live life and don't make decisions and don't do the day-to-day stuff. We're in the 3D world and we have to do what we have to do. But in the greater scheme of things, when we are with people, what they think or say, they're entitled to that. And I don't have to have an opinion of that. And one of the ways I got away from judging people, because it was a real surprise one day years ago when someone said I was judgmental. I didn't even know what they meant. And so I started looking at that. And I realized that we're all trained to be very judgmental.
Oh, yes.
Is this right? Is it wrong? Is it too big? Is it too small? Should they do that? Should they not do that? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And we're constantly forced into an opinion, which is judgment. And so to extricate myself from being judgmental, and it was not easy, but number 1, recognize the problem. Then number 2, figure out the solution. And then number 3, do it. And so I just started taking a word that I felt was neutral and inserting it. And so my neutral word was interesting. So let's just say someone wore an outfit that was just, normally I would say totally ridiculous. I inserted the word interesting. Well, isn't that an interesting outfit she has on? Well, isn't that an interesting thing he said?
Mm.
Well, isn't it interesting that she did that?
Mm.
And so it just started to disconnect me from judgment. And let me tell you something. It was very freeing.
Oh, yeah.
I no longer had to figure out how I felt about stuff that really doesn't matter anyway.
Right. And if we all did that, then great. Now,
yes. I mean, it's worth the journey.
Yes, I agree. Now, what are the so-called, let's say, warning signs maybe a person can notice within themselves when they feel that energy surrounding them, whatever energy they come into contact with is negatively impacting them? How would they know that, oh my goodness, I need help? How would they know?
Look at your life, look at your body. So as far as your body, do you have pain? Are you healthy? Do you overeat? Do you drink things that are unhealthy? And then look at your attitude. Are you happy? Are you negative? Are you joyful? Are you upbeat? Do people like to be around you? How do you feel? Do you feel like life is worth living? Are you inspired, motivated? Do you have passions? I had one lady who had mood swings, and this is over the internet. And so the energy started working with her own energy. And what I saw when it started was a pendulum. The pendulum went all the way to the right and all the way to the left, back and forth. And as the energies worked with her, that pendulum settled in the middle. And so it evened out, balanced her energies. And so just pay attention to how you feel and pay attention to, is your life working for you? Are you happy?
And then get help when you need it. So
reach out for help when you need it. Yes.
Right. Now, do you have anything else you would like to share with our listeners today? I know we talked about something before we went on air.
Yes. Well, let me tell you, I do have an audio recording that I'm offering for free to your listeners, and they can access it by going to avilonbailey.com/free, FREE. And what they will have is a 7-minute reset to relaxation. And so this 7-minute reset to relaxation can just quickly and easily shift your energy so that whatever is causing you to be out of balance can quickly help you be back into balance. And then once you do that, you can move forward from a state of calm, from a state of objectivity, and be able to have a more positive impact, not only for yourself, but for those around you. So that would be avilonbailey.com/free. I also will offer to your listeners, if they contact me through my website or through my email, which is avilon@avilonbailey.com, I will give them a special rate on sessions. And my sessions are 30 minutes or 60 minutes, and they're done by phone or internet. And the beauty of that is you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to travel, and I'm able to record the session and send it to you so that you can continue benefiting from it from the replays.
Excellent. Would you just spell your website for us, for those who don't know how to spell your name?
Yes, it's A-V like Victor, I-L-O-N-E-B-A-I-L-E-Y, avilonbailey.com.
Excellent. Well, Avalon, we are out of time, but it's wonderful speaking with you again on the show. And I, encourage you to continue doing the great work that you're doing.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure and a joy, and I offer to you, continue what you're doing.
Thank you so very much, Avalon.
Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on Awakened Path Radio. Please check us out at www.awakenedpathonline.com. I'm your host, Dr. Candace Nadine Green. and you are listening to Awakened Path Radio, giving you tools to guide you on your spiritual or metaphysical journey. Namaste and blessed day.